Hello, I'm here to report that the humidity in West Tokyo is absolutely killer at the end of July, almost August. Today, I want to talk about Beck. Have you ever looked at young adult fiction and thought, you know what this needs? A little bit more existential dread? Because that's what Beck is, and that's the book I want to both talk about and recommend to you today. So, Beck is the fourth book, BEC. It's the fourth book in the Demonata series by Darren Shan. Okay, now, when you say it's the fourth book in a series, you immediately kind of turn off the video and go, wait, shouldn't I do book one first? No, stay there, stay there. I'm going to talk to you about it. Well, Beck is the fourth book in publication order of the Demonata series, and it's intended to be read as the fourth book. The reality is a little bit more complex. It's set 1600 years before book one. And the reality is you could read it as book one, and it would make equally as much sense to you as if you read it book four. And the reason I want to talk about Beck is because I think it is far and away the best book in the Demonata sequence. I think the series as a whole is of quality, certainly for young people. I think book four could be read by anybody and you would have a really, really good time with it. It is dark, it is bleak, but it's really, really good. So the Demonata series in the main is set in present day UK Ireland, and it follows a bunch of protagonists as they try to stop an oncoming demon invasion. So these aren't demons like biblical demons. They're not spirits. They come from other universes. They enter our universe, wreak as much destruction and havoc as they can, and then leave. I have students like that, actually. Right. Beck, book four, again, but you can read it in any order, takes place in Ireland, and Beck is also the title of our protagonist. That's her name. She's born under kind of mysterious circumstances, but she grows up in a village in Ireland at a time when Ireland is just plagued with demons. The night comes up, the demons come out, and everyone is left to fend for themselves. Every village just tries to survive another night against these hordes of attacks that keep coming. There's a real sense of inevitable doom at the start of this novel, and this is something I really want to kind of key into in a second, the sense of doom. The villages, as the number of people alive begins to decline, start to band together to form new communities. They themselves eventually diminish, and then new communities from that shrapnel, that detritus of humanity, has to form together. So it's bleak. It's a pretty bleak start. Anyway, the trigger for the action in Beck is that a young boy during the day runs into Beck's village. They've never seen this guy before. He doesn't really speak. He seems to be a bit cognitively not all there. And he just tells them to come with him. He tells the villagers to come with him. Eventually, and again, this is the first quarter of the novel, the main characters realize that the boy is leading them onto a journey regarding how to stop this demonic incursion, this demonic invasion. And so that's what this book is. It's a party of people traveling towards almost certainly their death in the hopes that they might be able to put a stop to these attacks that are ongoing in their country. It's really good. It's really good. I think this book is really, really marvelous. And let me tell you why. So the first thing I want to key on is just this sense of doom, bleak hopelessness that pervades this novel. It's really quite, I haven't really encountered anything similar from such a young adult text before. You know, I read this book when I was 14 and I still remember certain scenes because of how hopeless they feel. You really feel with this party, this Lord of the Rings-esque party, as they head towards stopping the demonic invasion, that they are not going to make it. Almost certainly, all of them are going to die. You're told that pretty much from the get-go, that all of these characters are almost certainly toast. And so as you follow them, you feel their despair, you feel their hopelessness, and you feel that maybe there's a chance that they can do this thing, but at what cost? There is such a grimness that doesn't feel edgy. Sometimes it feels edgy, but most of the time it doesn't feel edgy. It feels like a very mature sense of despair. And I love that about this novel. And this is a running theme in the Demonata as a whole, is that maybe we can keep the demons off for a little bit longer, but eventually they are going to get us. Listen, it feels weird to go, you should read this because it's so grim and it's aimed at children and it's bleak. I understand how that comes across, particularly in this lovely sort of sunny context. Listen, I wouldn't want all of my young adult fiction to be this bleak. I wouldn't want all of my adult fiction to be this bleak. But here, Shan is absolutely setting out and accomplishing what he wants to in Beck, and he does it marvelously, and I have to applaud it, even though it does sort of raise my hackles and my eyebrows just a little bit. Another thing I love about this novel, the theme of mentorship is dealt with wonderfully here. The mentor figures, there's kind of two of them, I would say, in this novel, are really broken, dodgy human beings. You do not want them at your dinner party. You don't want to introduce them to your mates. These are really, really scary people, the mentor figures in this book. But you know, in a world of Dumbledores, okay, Dumbledore's a little bit flawed. And then there's Gandalf. Gandalf's not that flawed, apart from when he disappears in The Hobbit for a little bit. In a world of very sweet mentors, I really enjoy the idea of a father figure or a guider who is themselves extremely messed up. And it raises a whole bunch of questions that this novel tackles really well. To what extent can you take the advice and mentorship of someone who might not have your best interests at heart? To what extent can you accept the mentorship of anyone who might actually harm you? And a lot of this comes through in a certain character called Drust. You get the sense that Drust will harm anybody as long as he can stop this demonic invasion. He does not really have the best interests of certain humans at heart. He only has the interests of humanity at large at heart. And this mentor figure called Drust says it pretty much as soon as he steps on the page. He says, listen, I need you because my old party died. And this village I'm hiding in, I watched them all get slaughtered. I didn't intervene because my life is more important. Let's get going. This novel really raises some interesting questions about sacrifice as well. And not just in the largely sort of giving up one's life for other people, although that is present in the Demonata as a whole, but various smaller examples of sacrifice. What if by witnessing something and not intervening, you are sacrificing a part of your humanity to keep yourself alive, to keep this mission going? What if someone else tells you to sacrifice something? Is it truly your sacrifice, or are you being manipulated? Are you being cajoled? Are you being um, orchestrated? The last positive I'll also zoom into while we're talking about the strengths of Beck is the characters. Now, some of the characters are more thin than others, but there's a few that really stand out. I already briefly spoke about Drust. Beck is a really great character herself. She is strong and steely and assertive, but also very much a child at the same time. Initially, Beck isn't one of the party members who goes and follows this young boy as they start their quest. She volunteers herself. And when she's challenged on it and they say, no, you're too valuable, you have to stay here as priestess, she goes, I'm not beholden to you. I'll do what I want, thank you. There's also certain moments though where her childishness really comes through. People pick her up and sort of toss her around and she giggles with delight. She is not just this kind of stoic human being. She is genuinely young. Another character who is just marvelous throughout the series is the antagonist, a guy called Lord Loss, a demon. He's one of the demonic overlords that pervades most of the Demonata. And he's sort of a Voldemort figure. In some ways, and you could quibble with this, there isn't a lot of complexity to Lord Loss. He appears and he is nasty, but he is so well done. He is so well crafted. You feel genuine fear when he's on the page. So Lord Loss is a demon of despair, of fear, of hopelessness himself. So when he appears on the stage, he always does it in such a sense that he seems to commiserate with the people that he's about to kill or terrify. He kind of comes on and he says, I'm so sorry that I have to do this to you, before he does something genuinely incomprehensibly foul. And that just makes him really entertaining, again, in a very macabre way. So that's it for some of the positives. There are more, but I'll stop there. Are there any negatives? Are there any flaws to this book? No. Nah, yeah, there are. There are. Of course there are. Every book has some. Apart from Toll the Hounds. So I'd say the main thing, if I had to criticize this novel, is about the slightly frenetic energy to the writing style. This novel feels like it was written in a bit of a hurry sometimes. So I kind of mean this in two different ways. The first one is about the pace. Sometimes events seem to happen at a very, very fast speed with such rapidity that you kind of blink and the scene's over. And I would have liked Shan to spend a bit more time in his description. He's very good at describing the demons when they come on, but for example, the landscape. Similarly, when there's some action on the page, sometimes people will die in the space of 3 or 4 lines. And that seems to me like a deliberate artistic choice. Death is sudden. It can come out of nowhere, and then everything you know is suddenly changed. But sometimes it's a bit too rapid for my liking. And in fact, without spoiling anything, one of the death scenes I like the most in this novel is so good because it happens over several pages. And I would have liked a few more of these because sometimes things feel like they're moving at too fast of a clip. But the other way this novel slightly hinders its own success is in the way that Beck is written. Her narration sometimes is a bit too fun. There's like exclamation marks and semi jokes that are peppered in there that I don't think really serve, again, that really wonderful but gloomy, despairing tone. I think it kind of, the two things sort of bump up against each other sometimes. On the whole, though, I do think this is a really good novel. It's very short. I think it's about 270 pages. The original cover, hang on, is much better. Look at this cover, it's wonderful. Look at this next cover, it's pretty good. This is the current cover. What are they thinking? What are they? Bloody crocodile. Ultimately, I would recommend Beck to any horror fan and potentially any fantasy fan, especially if you don't mind that slide into the darkness. And if someone was interested in reading the Demonata series, I'd probably tell them to read book 4 before book 1, because then you get to see Shan's work punching at its greatest. And if you enjoy it, that could then be a decision for you about whether you want to continue or not. Again, you don't have to read books 1, 2, 3 before book 4. There is virtually no overlap between them, bar one or two sort of Easter egg things. But I'll leave you there. This is my first time, I think, doing a proper spoiler free book review. Let me know, genuinely, let me know how I did. You don't need to shower me in praise unless you really want to. I hope the cicadas weren't too annoying for you, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.